Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Boulder Valley Mystic Moments. It's been such a joy to share these ideas with you and then to have time afterwards and talk about them. I think that the spirit of oneness, which is our theme for June, is one of the most important ones we can grasp. And probably one of the most difficult. You know, in nature, everything has a valuable place. Everything has a valuable place in the spirit of all of life. Only human beings question that. I honestly don't think elephants are walking around like, well, he's bigger than I am, or she's has a bigger trunk than I do. I don't think a rose looks at a dandelion and goes, well, you know, I don't think a rock looks at a mountain and goes, oh gosh, someday I want all of that. Human beings are the only ones that compare themselves. I think all of the rest of nature understands that as individualized expressions of the one, we are the divine idea. Rumi once said, that which God said to the rose and caused it to laugh in full bloom beauty, he said to my heart and made it 100 times more beautiful. When we talk about oneness, we're talking about that very heartbeat in each of us. We are talking about being so in awe of our individualized expressions of the one that there's no time to compare. There's no time to judge. There's no time to be arrogant and think we're better than. We just go, oh, wow, look at that divine expression. Oh, that divine expression, it's probably not an energy field I want to be in, but I acknowledge that it's there. It's that simple. It's kind of like pulling away and being detached. So in order to experience our oneness and be full out playing on planet Earth, we get to set our boundaries. When we set our boundaries, there is no comparison. It's just, this is what I believe in. This is what I am. And this is what I'm going to do. We understand our own patterns. We express our own talents. The opposite of that is arrogance, is gossiping, is self-discrimination and other discrimination. In order to live in a spirit of oneness without comparing and without a need to be perfect, because in truth, we are all at the very core of our being perfect. On the planet, in the material world, sometimes we're not so perfect. And that's okay too. And other people aren't either. In the spirit of oneness, you and I are asked to honor our own talents and skills. As many of you know, my husband, Tom, is a chef. And he was the head chef at Althea for many years. And he would cook for 100 or more every Sunday. And on Saturday, he goes, well, I got to go shopping now. And I go, well, what are you going to cook tomorrow? And he goes, I don't know. I just need to walk down the aisles of the store. And I'm like, oh my God, I could never do that. I could never. I'd have to plan weeks in advance. And I would have every crumb down on a piece of paper because I don't cook like that. I don't really cook. But my talents, as he would say to me, I don't have a clue. So we laugh about how we can support each other into our talents. If I cooked for 100 people, truly, everyone would get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and sometimes the peanut butter wouldn't be there. So thank God we have, literally, thank God, all of these different expressions in order to pull ourselves out of comparisons. I don't even know if comparison is a word, but it is now. If we stop comparing ourselves to others, we can fully embrace our oneness with the divine. And in order to do that, it takes a certain amount of detaching and allowing the oneness to just express itself through each of us. When we can see ourselves as individualized expressions of the whole, we know that God created the beauty in us, and we can enjoy that 100 times over, more than that. Oneness in the spirit of comparing and in the spirit of needing to be perfect. Oneness in the spirit of embracing all. Mahatma Gandhi once said, I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows shut. I want the cultures of the land to be blown about my house as freely as possible. I was at Mile High Church in Lakewood, Colorado the other day, and they have this beautiful display of the different religions and what each one teaches and what each one. It's so beautiful if you get a chance. It's on the hallway going down toward the bathrooms. But notice it's on the left, and it is so beautifully put together. There's Hinduism and Judaism and Buddhism and the indigenous cultures. I could have spent hours there because on the outside, we look different, we sound different. On the inside, we're all one. On the outside, we could compare. Well, those people think that, or those people do that, or why is that person? But on the inside, we don't need to do any of that. We just need to know what we believe and go forth. Brian Patrick in Earth Spirit writes, who is our neighbor? The Samaritan? The outcast? The enemy? Yes, of course. But it is also the whale, the dolphin, and the rain forest. Our neighbor is the entire community of life, the entire universe. We must love it all as ourselves. So if we're not comparing, what are we meant to do? If we're not going, well, you're this way and I'm this way, and your color skin and my color skin, and your beliefs and my beliefs, and your way of doing things and my way of doing things, and pretty soon we have our back turned to each other. When we can come from an observer point of view and go, wow, that's really interesting. That's not what I believe, but I love hearing what you believe. I had the funniest experience the other day at the gym. I was doing yoga, and this woman came up to me and said, wow, you look beautiful on the mat. And I heard, like in a movie where there's a positive, I could hear the music. It's like, oh, wow, thank you. She said, wow, you've been doing this for a while. I go, yeah, yogi is yoga, and being a yogi is or a yogini, as they say, is my passion. And she said, yeah, I really like doing yoga too. And I said, well, do you study the philosophy? And I could hear it's like, oh, maybe this is a soul sister. Gosh, we could have coffee together. We could talk about yoga and the philosophy and what it all means. And she said, oh, God, no, that is not what I believe. And the music started to change. I went, oh, okay, well, okay. And she said, it's dangerous. The philosophy of yoga is dangerous. I went, oh, okay, well, I guess we won't meet for coffee, and I guess we won't become soul sisters. I had to laugh at myself. But I wanted to hear more, and I wanted to hear what she thought of. And when she walked away, I thought, I am so grateful for the beliefs that I have, different than hers. But because of my beliefs of oneness, I could embrace hers. It's a spirit of detachment. I want to talk also about another, I'm going to say, major block to the spirit of oneness, and that is perfectionism. Holy Toledo. I used to say in my lecturing when I would go into corporate America and do what I was doing, I would say that perfectionism is the deadliest disease in America. I don't believe it today. I think that overscheduling and overdoing is the deadliest, but perfectionism is right under that. Perfectionism is the voice of you're wrong and I'm right. Perfectionism is the voice of victim mentality. Mothers have killed their children because they left their shoes out in the hallway. People have destroyed other people's lives in so many ways because they're not perfect. Let me tell you something. None of us are perfect in the practical world. We are perfect in the spiritual world, but none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect in the practical world. And when we can stop judging others for their behaviors that we don't think are perfect, and we just observe, oh my God, the peace and the joy that comes from our hearts, we go, oh, this is what God feels like. And we can discern. We can discern and go, I don't want to be in that energy field, but I recognize it as an expression of the divine. It's not mine, but it's theirs, and it's okay. Perfectionism is a learned behavior. It's not something that we innately know and do, because God is the one thing that is perfect inside of us. And we are all awakening to that. I recently did a wedding at the Althea Center for Engaged Spirituality. And beforehand, I was talking to a woman who was really struggling. And she said, I just want to connect with the divine. I just want to connect with God. And I looked at her and I said, honey, you already are connected. You already are. There's no place to go. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to get anything. You don't have to do anything. You already are one with the divine. And she looked at me and she started sobbing. Which, for those of you who know me, I go, yay! That block is coming down, oftentimes in tears. There's nowhere to go for us to experience our oneness. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to, and we shouldn't compare ourselves with others. Boy, this was such a struggle of mine in the ministerial school in the 80s. Now I'm like, it's great. But I was so comparing myself to the people who could speak naturally and teach naturally. I think I've always been a natural teacher, but not a natural speaker. And some people just are orators by who they are. Mine has been more of a learned process. But how I feel about it is what matters. Because I want to be that rose. I want to be that rose that caused itself through the divine to be in full bloom. I want to do the best I can possibly do and be. And then let it go. Because there are much better speakers than me. And there's not as good speakers as me. And that's okay. What I do as excellent as I can. And I just want to leave you with, instead of striving to be perfect, strive to be excellent. Just be the excellent being that you could possibly be. We all have flowers bursting all over us in Colorado right now. It's such a lovely time of the year. And I love to walk out to my deck every morning and see another little flower that's like, ooh, and then another little flower is over here that's like, ooh, and they're just bursting with divine energy. That's your job and that's my job. It's not to compare and it's not to be perfect. So you, my dear friend, and I are individualized expressions of the one. No one can be like you. No one has ever walked the planet ever like you, and no one will ever walk the planet ever again like you. So go to the mirror and look at the beautiful one staring back at you and say to it, him or her, it meaning the divine expression, I love you. I love you. You are an individualized expression of the one. I compare you with no one. And you are perfectly imperfect from the spirit of one. Have a great day. Have a great week, everybody. Look around and see God bursting everywhere. And if you're in an energy field or you hear about an energy field that you don't want to be a part of, that's fine. I would encourage you to not talk about it, not gossip about it. Oh, it's so easy to do right now with everything that's going on. But instead, go inside. Go to that sacred place inside of you that is completely unruffled by the human experience. Please donate to the Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. There are so many different ways you can do that. Go online. You can certainly send us a check and go online. You can text, you can, I think you can email. I'll find out all the different ways. I tend to write checks because I have fewer tomorrows and I have more yesterdays. So I've been writing checks forever. I like doing it. So please donate so that we can continue. We have some very exciting things coming up at the center. We will be announcing so much on June 26th. So please join us in-house at the Methodist Church at 3:00. Have a great day. Methodist Church in Lafayette. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.